This is the all-new Audi A1. Let's have a bit of a think for a moment. The old A1 was 9 years old. In car terms, that means it came out when the pharaohs were still in charge of Egypt. This is the quick one. This is the 147 kilowatt 40 TFSI, and we're here in the absurdly pretty part of the world called Tasmania to give it a go. Given the old car had been around for so long, Audi had a long time to think about what they wanted to do with the second generation. So they came up with this. Now, it is actually quite a bit different. For a start, you get these really cool Quattro style vents here in the bonnet. This is big and it's angular and it looks angry. I like it here on the upper end of the car. These LED headlights at night when the car's coming towards you, you are going to know that this is an A1. I think that's really cool. And of course, because this is the quick one, deeper front bumpers and it's all blacked out and a bit angry looking. Fantastic looking 18-inch alloys. Of course, it's got red calipers. And of course, this really nice body kit. I quite like this. I don't know why, it just excites me a little bit. It's very nice. I think it's a really cool little car. It's really nuggety, and the old car was like that too, and especially in the S1, guys. I don't know if we're getting an S1, but this is pretty close with 147 kilowatts. And not only are the front lights LED, but the rears are too, and you get an echo of this really, really cool shape. To go with the all-new exterior is an all-new interior, and I really like this. There's lots of vents in here. You got big vents here, and like in the bigger cars, you got them across in front of the passenger, so you get that lovely diffused effect when you're sitting in the passenger seat. It's quite nice because I know the first thing my wife does when she gets in a car is turn the fan down, and it's not something that happens in an Audi. Virtual cockpit in front. All A1s actually have a digital dashboard, but there's two types now. There's a normal digital dashboard and the virtual cockpit. That's kind of cool. Depending on the model you get, you've got a big MMI screen here. This is the big one. There's a slightly smaller one. It's not a big deal. I quite like how it's built into the dash now rather than popping up out of the front. It seems like we're having this move back to putting the screen in the dash. In this car, you've also got a wireless charging pad and you can get wireless CarPlay. I always think that's really important when you've got a wireless charging pad because if you have to plug it in, it's kind of, well, you've wasted your money, haven't you? Anyway, I think it's just a really nice interior, and the materials are really cool. You can get an Alcantara one as well. And if you really want to go to town on this car, you can get a flat bottom steering wheel and all sorts of other goodies. This is a good interior. It feels like it's from a bigger car. And that's kind of an Audi thing, but I really like how it feels like you're not kind of trading down when you go down to a smaller car.
So the new A1, this is probably not a car that's on your radar because the old one had been around for so long that we kind of forgot it even existed really, because it had been around a long time, and it was kind of late to the party too, because if you think about it, BMW bought Mini to get into that lower end of the range, and then Audi kind of took forever to come up with, well, what felt like forever to come up with this. Well, the previous one. And then, to make up for it, it came up with a John Cooper Works baiting S1. And that was a cracker of a car. But the new A1 is out. There are 3 versions available. The 30 TFSI, which is a 1 litre, 3-cylinder turbo. Does 0 to 100 just under 10 seconds. And there's this one. This is the 35 TFSI, 1.5 litre, 4-cylinder turbo. 110 kilowatts, about 200 newton meters, and actually a pretty reasonable kind of warm hatch 0 to 100 of 7.7 seconds. Like, that's not mucking around. Let's be honest. So it's doing okay. And then there is the 40 TFSI, which is a 2 litre, 4-cylinder, 147 kilowatts, turbo of course, 147 kilowatts, 320 newton meters of torque, all through the front wheels. There's no all-wheel drive on that. Now, I've got to say, I was not expecting greatness from this car, and I'm scolding myself a little bit for that. I really like all three of these cars I really like. Interestingly, the 35 TFSI isn't what I was expecting, given this is the car that most people will buy. So it's around about the $35,000 plus on roads. Very much worth getting the tech package, but the digital dashboard, the basic one, is actually quite good. You don't really, unless you want that the big nav thing in the screen, I don't think you really need it. I think it's quite good as it is. Good digital dash. So it's digital dash no matter what, but you do get virtual cockpit if you either spec it or go. Please, everybody, get LED lights, just because, like, no matter which one you buy, just because it looks great. And on the base car, it's part of the package for $2,000. Absolutely worth it. Now, the base car, I loved it. I actually enjoyed driving it more than the 35 because the slightly smaller wheels, the different tyres, and less weight, all those things, it just made it more fun to drive. I really enjoyed it. There's nothing wrong with the 35 TFSI, although it's a bit harder to place it accurately on the road because the steering doesn't sort of say much to you. And I'm very conscious of veering towards the Audi numb steering meme. The steering just isn't as good on the 35. And I think it probably does need a drive select thing to put some weight into the steering because it doesn't hang around, this car, and the fundamental suspension tune on all three of the cars is really, really good. It rides really well. It's a little bit noisy, particularly on the 40 TFSI's tyres. It's a bit noisy from up front, but it is a very small car, so I kind of expected that. Now, the 40 TFSI, which I know is the car you're most interested in. It's a really good car. It's so much fun. It's a proper, fast, super mini hot hatch. I get they call them super minis in the UK. It is. It's fast and it's fun and it's got so much grip. I mean, they've all got tons of grip, but that thing has tons of grip. And it even has a little bit of poppity bang on when you lift off and a bark on the upshift. And I really like that. But what I've really liked about all three of the versions is just the way you get into a flow. So obviously with the 3-cylinder, you've really got to get your momentum and really hang on to that momentum when you're going out for a drive. It's really easy to get into that rhythm, and I really enjoyed it. And it's actually quieter than the 35 TFSI. The engine sounds better. So if you can't stretch to the 40, absolutely consider spending a bit of money on a couple of packs on the base car. It's really not that much slower in the real world, but I think has something about it that makes it a more interesting car to drive than the 35. I'm not going to speculate on the depreciation of the 30 versus the 35, but does use less fuel and it is cheaper to run. And of course, there's a very good 3 or 5 year fixed price servicing regime for all three cars, $1,500 and about $1,900 for the other one. So that's pretty good value actually. Pricing starts at around $32 for the 30, and then up to about $42, both plus on roads for the 40, and the 35's in the middle there, obviously. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but I reckon the 30 it's very well equipped. It's got forward AEB with pedestrian and cycle detection. It's got reversing camera. It's got a big screen, not as big as the one if you've got the tech pack or the 40. Pretty decent stereo, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the screen is absolutely lovely. It really is. It's just a really nice screen. So, yeah, this is a great stretch of road. This is just wonderful. And this really proves that you don't actually have to buy a specifically sporty car to buy something you can enjoy driving. This is a car that will be really good around town in any of its versions. It's going to be really good for, the people it's aimed at, who are young males and females, and because they've pushed the looks up a bit, Audi is chasing more male buyers for this car. But I think it's a really nice piece of design, and I think it's a really cool car without overdoing the chunkiness or overdoing the bling. I've been arguing with a colleague all day about the interior design. I do think, on reflection, it's probably a bigger design for a small than it should be, but I do like the shapes in it. It reminds me a bit of the TT's wing shape that when you view the car from overhead, you can see this cool wing. It's a good piece of design. Whether it belongs in this car, I don't know. It does, as the day has worn on, I've thought it's a bit chunky, but the materials are great. The finishing is lovely. It's a really nice car, and you know, in the 30, you're getting a pretty cracker interior for, you know, mid-30s on the road, which is, you know, that's pretty good value, I reckon. What don't I like about it? Look, there's not a lot to dislike. You know, I'm racking my brains. I think any of the dislikes are probably centered around the 35 TFSI, and it's about stuff that many people won't really worry about, like, you know, the way it's a bit difficult to really line it up when you're driving like this. Not difficult, it's just I found it easier in both the 30 and the 40 to know what I was doing. I just think those tyres are probably a little bit almost too good for that car, and because you can't really feel through the steering what it's doing, it does make it a bit more you've got to be paying attention. And I'm sure that's the kind of thing that you will absolutely get used to with ownership. You know, they just throw us in these cars and send us off, and so we have to cover a lot of ground when we're thinking about what it is we like about the cars. Like, rear leg room's not great. The boot's huge, 335 litres. That is a ton of space. Look, it's difficult to fault this car, and sometimes that's a that's a sly way of saying it's boring. But it is. It's a difficult car to fault, and I think. Sorry, I'm just in a good bit of road again. Oh boy, the grip on this car is really something. Oh, for this class of car to have that kind of grip and not be a Polo GTI or a Renault Sport Clio. That is not bad at all. But yeah, you know, if you want the hot hatch, get the 40, spend the money, but be smart, get the right packs. Don't just buy a bog standard one, because you may not be so happy with that. But if you're looking at the 35, do go and drive the 30. You just might find that it's, you know, the fundamental drivability of the engine and the way the suspension's set up, and, you know, the tyres are good, the wheels are good. You might find that that's good enough, and you can save yourself some money on the actual purchase price and get a few bucks to spend on, you know, maybe the tech pack or whatever it is that's available on that. So yeah, Audi's really. This is a shot, but this is a shot between the eyes. This one, it's really good. This is a car where you'd go Mini or A1. Before it was kind of like you'd go the Mini because it had all the tech and it had all the stuff and it was a newer car. But now this is a fully credible competitor to the Mini. A car I very much like. You know, so I'm not here kind of going, well, it's a crap car. This is so much better. These are both great cars, the Mini and the A1. But now this is a much more credible premium competitor to the Mini, and, you know, to be fair, you're paying enough, so it should be this good. It should be this good. Look, I don't know if you can see out here, but I'm on the east coast of Tasmania, and it is just stunning out there. Dead set. This is one of the most beautiful parts of the world, let alone the country. Wow. Anyway, so bit pressed for time, so I'm going to finish off here in the car. This is a terrific car. It's the right car to start you on your Audi journey, if that's how you view it. It's packed full of stuff. You know, Audi Australia have really been pushing equipment into the cars in the last couple of years. You'll see that through the entire range. And this is much better than I was expecting. But even if my expectations have been high, I don't think they'd have been as high as this. They would have exceeded my expectations either way. But yeah, I'm really pleased that this is a good car because I like the fact that you can buy such a nice piece of design at this size, because this is a terrific city car. You'll really enjoy this as a city car. Yeah, so this is definitely a Redline recommend, and it doesn't matter which one you get. You can't often say that about a range of cars.